Okay, perfect. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on our Career Connection webinar for today. My name is Neverly Sainville. I'll be your host for today. We're excited to present Artificial Intelligence in You. We'd like to thank our panelists from the State College of Florida, SCF, for joining us here today. Before we get started, there's a few housekeeping items I'd like to go over. Today's session is being recorded, and it will be made available on our YouTube channel within 48 hours following today's webinar. We will also send out a link with the recording, along with any materials covered through today's presentation to everyone that registered. Now, because this is a webinar, all lines are muted, but you can ask your question using the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen. As we move through the presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A box. We'll leave about 10 minutes towards the end to answer any questions that you may have. So before I turn it over to our presenter, today we have Josh Bagley, Director of Advanced Technology Center at SCF, State College of Florida, and then we'll move into our Q&A. After the Q&A, if everyone could stay on for an additional minute to complete a brief survey that'll pop up on your screen, we'd greatly appreciate it. Feedback provided is really important as we use these surveys to help us with future webinars and programming. So before I go ahead and turn it over, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Women's Resource Center and what we do. The Women's Resource Center has been empowering women in Sarasota and Manatee County since 1979. We have 3 centers across both counties, one in Bradenton, one in Sarasota, as well as one in Venice. We serve over 9,000 clients yearly and deliver over 7,000 hours of programming. Our goal at the Women's Resource Center is to educate, engage, enrich, and empower women of all generations. We're a place women can call when they're not sure where to turn to for help. To do so, we offer our clients resource advising, mental health counseling, career services, educational workshop programming, and scholarships, as well as legal and financial consultation and education. All of these programs are offered at low or no cost to our clients. Since this is a webinar about careers, we'll take a moment to talk about our career services. Our career coaching program offers individual assistance in preparing for successful job search. This includes career discovery, resume preparation, interviewing skills, mentoring techniques, and so much more. Our computer tutoring offers one-on-one help with navigating online job search, uploading resumes, helping with computer basics, and Microsoft Office applications. In addition, we have 3 career closets at each of our locations where we offer free clothing and accessories to women who are attending job interviews or just secured a job and are in need of clothing for work. I'd like to mention that our career closet is open to anyone who is in need of clothing, regardless of the reason as well. So again, we do want to hear from you. If you have a question, you can use the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen to ask your question. And as a reminder, our Career Connection is being recorded and will be made available within 48 hours after this webinar is concluded. As I mentioned at the end, if you could just stay on for a brief minute, there will be a survey that will pop up on your screen. We ask that you complete the survey so we can better understand how we can improve. Thank you for attending today's Career Connection, and I'll turn it over to Desh.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. I appreciate being here. Thank you to everybody that is online with us right now. I think that artificial intelligence is probably one of the most popular topics right now. And I happen to be mentioning to Brent and to Neverly that we can't have anybody left behind. We want as many people as possible to know about AI, to know how it can be used in everyday life, and to know how it can be used in careers. And of course, it can be used to help find careers. So I'm excited to engage with you this afternoon. If you have any questions, please let us know what they are. Part of this presentation will consist of PowerPoint presentation, but the rest of it is hands-on. And so I actually want you to see how this amazing tool works out. So as was mentioned, my name is Desh Bagley, and I'm the director of the Advanced Technology Center at State College of Florida. And this presentation falls hand in hand with what we do at SCF. Our goal is to help our community gain access to resources learn about emerging technologies, and stay on the cutting edge of what's useful in our careers, our daily life, our education, and for our families, right? Things that can be useful for our kids and parents as well. State College of Florida Advanced Technology Center is located at SCF Bradenton. We're on the second floor of the 26th West Center for Advanced Technology and Innovation, and I'm always there to help out, as is our staff. If you guys have any questions about training for education or technology or new careers in technology, we're always happy to help. Our agenda for today consists of existing AI applications. Believe it or not, as you guys probably know, we've been using AI for a long time now. Although generative AI is new on the scene, and we'll talk about what generative AI is, AI itself, we've been using it with lots of different applications. We're going to talk about how generative AI can be used in everyday life, how AI is revolutionizing the job search. And that's the majority of this presentation today, is how you can use generative AI. And I say that, I mean ChatGPT or Gemini by Google or Claude by Anthropic, right? We all say ChatGPT like we say Kleenex when we need a tissue. There's just a generic term now that we've all started using because ChatGPT was first on the scene through OpenAI, but ChatGPT isn't the only tool that you can use. So there are other tools that you can use, and we're going to talk about how those tools are revolutionizing the job search. Then I will give a ChatGPT demonstration, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. How many of you, by a show of hands, using your Zoom tools, how many of you have already started using some type of ChatGPT or Claude or just Bing? Maybe now you're using your Microsoft search tool. You've switched over from Google and now you're using Bing because Bing has ChatGPT already integrated. Let me know by show of hands or type it in the comments to let us know if you guys are already using it. And then I would sort of also like to know, maybe in the comments or in the Q&A, wherever you can put those, I would like to know how many of you are just like, no way, Daish, not gonna do it. Not excited about AI whatsoever. Got some hesitations. Actually, I have some real fears about what AI is doing to our society. I'd like to know that as well. And later on in the presentation, I'll ask Nerly to share that with me. So existing applications are your personal assistants and your smart home devices. So every time you say Alexa or Hey Siri or anything like that, whenever you say turn on the lights or start my car, those things are existing AI applications, not so much generative. This means that the personal assistants and the smart home devices that we're using now, they are using existing data. They're not creating anything unique. When we say, hey Siri, when was the last time the Buccaneers won a Super Bowl? That information is stored in a database of sorts. And so that's funny. Every time I said it, my phone started listening to me. Sorry, y'all. That information is stored in a database already, right? So it's not information that's being generated uniquely. Developers have sensors. Let's say it's Google. They have sensors already for our navigation and travel. We can look at our maps, our Google Maps or our Waze maps, and just know what the traffic looks like because of sensors that are embedded in all of our traffic safety and on our roads. So that's not generative, that's existing, but we're still using AI to look at trends for traffic. They start to say, well, you know what? In Sarasota, US 41 is always kind of backed up right around 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. We can just sort of predict that it's going to be backed up at this time of day. We use AI for our recommendation systems. Netflix knows the type of movies that you like. Spotify knows the kind of music that you want to listen to at a certain time of day even. Spotify knows when you're driving home, you're probably listening to one type of genre. And when you're leaving for work, first thing in the morning, you may be listening to another genre. So those types of systems have existed. We've been using them, and we probably thought nothing of it. But all of a sudden, now we hear this thing where the computer seems to be making decisions and creating information without us having to fulfill any kind of database, without us having to put together any sensors anywhere. The computer seems to be thinking on our behalf and typically coming up with better solutions and ideas than we ourselves are coming up with. And I'll just address the elephant in the room. It's a little scary for folks. I mean, it's scary for me. I have a computer science degree from University of South Florida, go Bulls. I have my master's degree in information technology management. And even I hesitate every once in a while when I'm thinking about the jobs that could be lost if we really start to embed AI more generously, if we start to use it in ways that eliminate some positions. So the other reason why I wanted to talk about this with our Women's Resource Center community is because we want to be prepared. If some of our jobs are going away, it's nothing new, right? We've been down this road before. We had the Industrial Revolution, and then the internet came along, and we had a whole nother revolution. Computers, self-checkout, right? You walk into a McDonald's and the machine, the kiosk is taking your order. So it's nothing new. What we're going to look at today is just some examples of composing emails and creating recipes and trip planning and creating curriculum for classes and summarizing documents, getting tutors online through AI. All of that now is how AI is being used in everyday life. And of course, we're going to talk quite a bit about the job search and how AI can assist. I have several slides here, and these slides will be shared with those of you that registered for the webinar. So no worries if I skip through a lot of these. This is simply as a resource for you to have. But resume builders can be used with AI at no cost. Job matching tools, finding the right fit, and making sure that the job you're going after matches your skill level, your passion, and your commitment, right? So we got some ideas for that. The idea of using AI for your resume is to help it beat the bots, because I guarantee you there's already AI in use to look at your resume. They're called applicant tracking systems. And those applicant tracking systems are already looking at your resume to make sure that your resume has on it everything that the job employer is looking for. We're going to talk about AI cover letters and how to create one that's personable and applicable to the job you're going after. And then, of course, we're going to talk about some coaching sessions. Now, we all know that the Women's Resource Center offers that human-to-human touch. They're going to look over your resume for you. They're going to help you with coaching for that interview. And they're also going to help you write a great resume, a cover letter. So I'm not saying to eliminate the human-to-human touch, because it's very important. But for yourself, you also have access to AI that can assist you. So that's the end of that slideshow. That's that. I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to transition over to the hands-to-hands demonstration. But my contact information is on here. If you guys ever need to hear from us at State College of Florida Advanced Technology Center, then please feel free to reach out. You'll have access to this. So while I transition on, do we have any questions? And if you're talking to me, Neverly, I don't know if I can hear.
So there is one question that actually no questions, it's just saying that they use it several times a week to help with their jobs to make it better faster. Awesome. While you're transitioning, I'm actually going to launch a poll to some of the questions that you did ask earlier. I know there was a few show of hands that were popping up. So if you're looking at your screen right now, there is a poll with about 4 questions on there. If you want to take the time and just answer those questions, and we'll kind of see where everyone in the room is as far as, do you know what AI is prior to today? Are you feeling comfortable using AI? Have you used it in the past? Have you ever considered using AI for a resume or your cover letter? And then if you do have questions, alternatively, you can use the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen to go ahead and ask any questions that you might have. This is a great stopping point to come up with some questions before Daesh jumps into doing some hands-on demonstrations actually of how quick AI can respond and help you in your day-to-day tasks.
Excellent, excellent, good. And we'll check in on that poll in just a moment. The first thing I wanted to show you guys is Bing. Remember how I mentioned that so many of us now are using Microsoft Bing, Bing.com, as our search engine of choice? And that's simply because Microsoft has a huge investment in ChatGPT, OpenAI. Microsoft is a huge investor. And so what Bing has done is they've implemented Microsoft's Copilot into their search engine. So Copilot is what Microsoft is calling their AI integration into Office 365, Excel, Word, PowerPoint. If you pay an extra fee, which many of us don't want to do, but if you happen to pay an extra fee, or if your company pays an extra fee, then when you're writing your Word document, Copilot is integrated. AI is there. ChatGPT is there. When you're working on your Excel spreadsheet and you can't figure out that one formula that you always have to use every month, but you never remember what it is, Copilot will be there to help you with that information. So I wanted to simply show you some of the things that it says, right? So when you're in Bing and you're using Copilot, choose a blues song that laments the loss of time. Design a mathematical scavenger hunt that illustrates how math is integral to everyday life. So you're just, you can ask it anything. You could literally ask it anything, right? So what's 2 + 2? And you don't have to spell everything right, because trust me, it understands. It's a large language model. And so for the large language model, it has captured information from all across the web, millions and millions of books, lots of songs. It's searched YouTube. And so for many of us, we're like, wow, is this an infringement of privacy? Or are they just taking people's creations and now using it for this ChatGPT model that can think of anything? And the answer is yes. So for those of you that are interested in the law, interested in privacy, interested in patents, that's going to be a huge field for so many people. If you have young students at home, kids at home, they should be sort of interested in what's going to happen legally with AI. And so that's a career field to think of. Now, I just put in 2 + 2 and it says the answer is 4, right? But there are also things where you can ask it about trigonometry and geometry and calculus, and I need an SAT tutor for my vocabulary section. And literally this AI will start to say, great, I can help you. I can help you. Oh, well, look, Bing actually starts giving you names of companies that can do it. Nothing against that. Okay, thank you for the resources, but it can also give you questions and help you come up with your vocabulary. So that's one, that's ChatGPT. The other one is called Gemini. Gemini is based on Google's large language models. So all of these big companies, you guys, are putting together their own large language models that can give us generative information. And it's a race against the clock, because, you know, just like with search engines, first we had Yahoo, and then we had Google, and of course we had Bing, and I'm sure there were several other search engines way back in the day. Don't want to give myself away with how old I am to know all of these older search engines, right, that were out there. But now the big companies are doing the same thing. Amazon is in on it. Amazon is invested in a company called Anthropic. So Google is in on it. Google is doing their own, right? So it says here, road trip drive time and kid entertainment ideas. So if I'm telling you I'm going to take an RV trip, so this is just AI in your daily life. AI trip, RV trip planning. I don't know if any of you have gotten into RVing like me. I just like being on the road. I like hopping into that RV and just going wherever I want to go. So let's say I want to go to the Keys. I'm in Sarasota. How long will it take? And what should I do along the way? So it's brainstorming. It's helping me plan my trip. This is Gemini by Google Maps. So Google, of course, they're going to pop in their own little thing. It tells me how long it's going to take to get from Sarasota to the Keys. It tells me which way I'm going. And then here's some interesting things that we can do along the way. The Myakka River State Park, spend some time in Miami, maybe go to the Coral Reef State Park, right? Or go to Key West. So it's giving me some ideas of what I can do as I'm traveling along in my RV to eventually make it to the Keys. So just a simple little, let's do some planning, right? And then of course we have the one I mentioned earlier. It's called Claude. Notice how all of these AIs sort of know who I am. Claude says, good morning, Deshwana, my full name. And then Gemini said, hi, Desh. If we were to scroll back up to the very top, Gemini knows me as Desh. When you're creating your AI accounts, it will ask you for an email address. It will ask you for a phone number, and it'll make you agree to whatever the policy is for that particular AI. When you are giving it your email address, it still wants a phone number. And because most of us typically only have one cell phone number, the companies are trying to limit the number of AI accounts we can have by asking you for your phone number. So that's what's up with that, right? What I like about Claude is, and the base prices are free. Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, Bing, when you're using the search engine, you don't have to pay anything for these AI tools. When you want expanded AI tools, that's when they will start to ask you for a monthly charge. So for now, the only one I'm paying for at this point is ChatGPT. I do pay $20 a month for an expanded version of ChatGPT, which we'll come to in just a moment. But Claude is also very nice because Claude will allow you to upload a document or an image or I think a PowerPoint. You can upload lots of different files to Claude and at no cost, whereas the other ones actually charge you for this tool, for this feature. At no cost, Claude will start to summarize or analyze the document. So in this particular situation, I have, let's say, just a simple little PDF that I've put in there. And I upload my PDF. I use that little paperclip button. I upload the PDF and I say, summarize this document. And you can do that with lots of different things, right? You can ask it to summarize a research paper. You can ask it to summarize an email that you got from someone, right? You can always ask it to summarize. So it says, it appears to contain these names without additional context. It's difficult to provide a summary beyond stating the names in the document. So this brings me to a point called, it's called prompt engineering. Prompt engineering means you want to put in a prompt that really helps the system understand what you're looking for. So I'm going to say, is this a certificate of sorts? And if so, what type? And I kind of know that it's a certificate. So then it says, based on the file name, here's the certificate. The inclusion of ACP suggests that it could be an Affordable Care Act or something similar to that, blah, 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 blah. Actually, it's Affordable Connectivity Program for those of us that like to tell people about free internet access points. But this is what you can do. And it doesn't always give us the right answer, you guys. It's called hallucination. So you want to be aware of hallucination. You definitely always want to double check what the AI is telling you. But for the most part, it gets us pretty close. So that's Claude. Let's now move on over to ChatGPT. And then from here, we're going to talk about jobs. So this is where we're going to really get into how do we use AI to help us with our job search. The first thing I wanted to show you in ChatGPT, the free version simply has this. It has a screen that says, how can I help you today? I want to say it gives you ChatGPT version 3.5 at no cost. If you're thinking to yourself, Daisha, what's the difference between 3.5 and 4.0? 4.0 goes a little bit faster. It has a larger language model that's a little bit more accurate, but 3.5 is still good for any everyday task. it'll get you there. It'll help you with your resume. It'll help you with your cover letter. It will help you with your coaching. It'll get you there at absolutely no cost. What I like about 4, and the reason why I pay the $20 a month personally, is because it has these other tools. It has a diagramming tool. It has an image tool. It has some other GPTs that I use quite often. So here are some things that people have developed to use with ChatGPT that if you pay the $20 a month, you have access to. But is it really needed? Not necessarily for everyday stuff. All right. So for now, I'm simply going to show you this one that I did earlier. It was just called Diagram. And I told it that I wanted it to show me an Advanced Technology Center HR diagram for the Advanced Technology Center, right? I wanted an HR diagram. And I put in the person at the top, myself, who reports to me. I did a couple of little indentions to sort of demonstrate who reports to my folks, right? Student success coach, the instructors report to her. We have a business development coordinator and a digital marketing and fabrication manager, right? These are the folks on my team. So then it said, I'll create a hierarchical diagram to represent the organizational structure of the Advanced Technology Center. I'm like, great, because that's what I want. I don't want to have to create the HR diagram. I want you to do it. And so it did a pretty good job, right? It put Executive Vice President and Provost, Dr. Fritsch, at the top. It put me right under him. And then it listed all of my folks. And you're saying, Daesh, did it just draw it out just like that? And I'm telling you, yes, it drew it out just like that. And then it told me I could download it as a PDP, or I could edit it using Miro, which is another free software that we can always use, Miro. If I didn't know about Miro, I would have been very happy that it told me about it. And then it gave me some other mind mapping things that I could use. So what's happening in the background? It's all code. It's nothing but math. It's zeros and ones. We have these software developers who are able to use these large language models and create other software for us to use, right? So that was just one example of a diagram, which for me in my job, I do a lot of diagramming, and it's really nice if I personally don't have to do it, if I could just put in my information and it does it for me. Well, let's now talk about resumes. We're going to move on over into the new topic of resumes, and I'm going to move over to 3.5 just so that we can all sort of be on the same page. And if you have your computer with you, I want you to try to follow along with me. You might have to create your ChatGPT account if you don't already have one, but I would encourage you to do so. Once you create your ChatGPT account, remember that everything is saved. Everything is saved. It does not get rid of anything. And these are all of my searches that I've done almost since the time I created this account, right? Digital navigator training topics. I help train digital navigators. I saw a post recently that the Women's Resource Center is looking for digital navigators. So if you're interested in helping with that, please talk to Brent. But I do a lot of chatting with ChatGPT, right? And everything gets saved. So when I'm ready to do a new chat, let's say I'm ready to talk about a new job search, then I simply click on the little new chat button here. And I'll simply say that I'm hoping to, not really, y'all, I like my job at State College of Florida. I'm not looking for a new job. I'm very happy where I am, but I'm hoping to find a new career that works for my skills, talents, and passions. So I just typed that in there. That's a way of giving the ChatGPT, the AI model, an idea of what I'm hoping to do. And it says, okay, fantastic, right? Sort of like a coach would do, sort of like my own job coach would do. It's like, here's a step-by-step approach to help you with your career exploration. And I'm sort of skipping words here and there so that we can get through it. But it starts off by telling me to do a self-assessment, reflecting on what my skills and my interests and my values are. What am I good at? What do I enjoy doing? And it's very something that's similar to what you would hear from a great coach. And then it says to do some research. Absolutely. Networking. If you don't have a LinkedIn account, you guys got to get a LinkedIn account. That's a side note. It talks about skills development. If there are some gaps, if I really wanted to be a software developer, but I didn't quite have the skills to be a software developer, but I had all sorts of other skills, right? I've managed people, I've managed projects, I've helped to bring in revenue, and I understand the idea of going from nothing to something. And I want to be a software developer. All of that plays into it. Now I just need to learn how to code. Well, that's great. You can do that. It fits in really well. Get some experience, set some goals, seek some feedback, stay flexible. I'm like, okay, great. Got all of that. I'm excited. I'm happy to be flexible. So then I say, my education is a BS in computer science. I typically don't put my name, y'all. I don't put my name because if I put my name goes into the large language model that we keep talking about, how everything is gathered from the internet, from books, from YouTube, from everywhere. Everything's gathered. Anything I put into this chat GPT also goes into that large language model. So I'm not necessarily always putting my name in conjunction with, I have a BS in computer science, I have this, I have that. There is one Microsoft tool, like I mentioned, Copilot, that you or your company may pay for. And if you're using Copilot in a paid plan, then all of your information is local and safe in that paid plan, according to what Microsoft has told us. So if you're using Copilot in a paid subscription, then according to what Microsoft says, our information is safe. But in this GPT, whatever, even though I'm paying $20 a month, my information is not private. They can use anything and everything to put it out there. All right. IT systems management. I love teaching. I am a grant writer. I manage a large budget. I manage a team. I think I want to be a director. I'm very happy to be a director. I need a resume. I was like, all right, great. With your background, here would be a sample resume for you, right? Name, address, blah, blah, blah. Your objective, dynamic and results-driven professional with a BS in computer science and an MS in IT systems management, leveraging a passion for teaching, grant writing, expertise, budget management, and team leadership, blah, blah, blah. Dedicated to driving organizational growth, blah, blah, blah. That all sounds really good, actually. I think I'm gonna copy that and put that on my resume, y'all. Here's my education section. Here's my professional experience section. And so what you would do is you would use what you already have, and you would start to use some of the words that you see in the job description, because that's what's missing from this right now. What's missing from this is it's too vague. It's too vague. And no manager wants to see a vague resume, right? And so even though these words sound nice, the next thing I'm going to do is go into Indeed.com. And Indeed.com, I'm actually going to look for the job that I really want to have. And I started looking once before, just for this webinar. So this says corporate training developer. Yeah, that's okay. I'm looking for something a little more. For now, you know what? I'm going to just go with a corporate training developer. And the goal is to look at what they say the job is looking for, right? Because my goal is to have my resume match with what the job says it wants. So my job now is to copy and paste where it says, I start with responsibilities typically, where it tells me responsibilities. When I'm writing my cover letter, I use what it says as the company description, because every cover letter has to be unique and personal to that company. That company needs to feel as though you want to work for them and nobody else, that your skills are uniquely positioned to help them have added value by what you bring to the table. But in order to say that, you have to know who they are. And if you don't know who they are, you can't match what you do to what they want. So I use this overview of who they are to help with my cover letter, right? And then I use the responsibilities to help with my resume. And so I'm going to sort of copy this, Control C, and I go back to Chat GPT. Sorry for having a million windows open, you guys. And I say, please add key phrases from this job responsibilities list to my resume. So I paste that in there and I hit enter. And it says, all right, here's how you can do it, Dish. Here's how you can add some key phrases. Collaborated with subject matter experts to gather course material and conduct analysis of program requirements to determine strategic solutions. Well, that was one of the things they said they wanted in the job description, right? So I read this and I say, well, is this a LIE? Because just because we're using AI doesn't mean we get to lie. We can't lie, right? The LIE system never works no matter what you're using, what tool. So I make sure that what it says in the resume matches my experiences. Develop new e-learning programs and updated, maintained existing courseware in alignment with objectives. I like that, still a little too vague. So I would have to say, develop 10 new e-learning programs, which brought in such and such amount of revenue and so number of students, right? So I'm going to use this as a nice frame, but I'm going to add my details to it. And if that's the part where if you get a little stuck on that part, that's what the Women's Resource Center is there to help you with. Allow them to help you quantify your experiences. But at least now you're coming in with a nice framework of what you can do. And even still, resumes shouldn't be longer than 2 pages. Remember that, y'all. Right? All right. And so then here's this. And I'm ready now to write my cover letter, right? Because this is what we're going to do. And I'm going to stop at 12:40 just to make sure that I leave some time for questions and answers. But from here, I'm going to go and grab this company. GovCIO is currently hiring for a corporate training developer to create training designed to teach corporate processes and procedures. Okay. So I understand. And if I didn't understand what they were asking me, you guys, let me just start there. If I didn't understand what that paragraph meant, because I write a lot of grants, and when I'm reading the grants, sometimes I have no idea what the person seeking the proposal is even looking for. So I type in what I think these people are looking for, and I say, what are they looking for? And I even say something like 9th grade level, please. Like, yes, I have a master's degree, but sometimes the language is so crazy that just give it to me on a high school student's level so I can understand. So it says they're looking for someone to help create training programs that teach people how to do important tasks at our company. The job is in Pensacola. You'll work at the office. Sometimes you can work from home if it's okay with your boss. Ah, thank you. Makes sense now. I understand what they're asking me. All right, so I need a cover letter. And notice I have typos. I don't care. It knows for this role using my expertise and what they are looking for in 500 words, no less. So I want this letter to be 500 words. I don't want it to be any more or any less than 500 words per se, right? And so then it's saying I'm writing to express my interest in the exact role that I'm applying for at the company, right? And as advertised, with a solid background in educational technology program development and a passion for creating effective training solutions, I'm excited about the opportunity to contribute to your team and support the growth and success of GovCIO. You guys have to know that's actually how I talk. If you don't talk like this, if you get into if your cover letter says, I'm excited to apply, and you get into the interview and you say, yes, I think this would be a very good position for me. I'm very professional and this is how I am. You have to tell this thing, I'm more professional, right? Less, I'm excited, and more your tone, right? So I'm writing to express my keen interest in the corporate training position with a robust background in educational technology, right? I don't talk like that. I'm like, yay, I'm happy. That's me. That's the way I sound, right? Everybody else sounds a little different, but you get to put your own tone in. You just got to know how to train this guy, how to train this machine to work for you. And so then, and then it comes back to saying the company's name again. The prospect of contributing to GovCIO's commitment to fostering a culture of continuous learning and professional development resonates deeply with me. And even still, some people think ChatGPT is too flowery. And I would even tell it that less flowery. People are going to think you're sucking up. We ain't trying to suck up, right? We're just trying to write a cover letter that gets the point across that we think we're a good fit for the job. So sometimes I tell it, less this, more that, less flowery, more to the point. And I just keep, it's a conversation. It goes back and forth and back and forth. And then finally, I'll say, give me some interview questions that relate to the position. Because I want to know ahead of time before I go into this interview, what might they ask me? What might they ask me? And if I know what they might ask me, can you walk us through your experience with developing corporate training programs? What methodologies or approaches have you found most effective in this process? Then I'm ready. And I'm practicing. And I'm practicing in front of a mirror. I'm practicing with friends. Trying to find a new job or a new career is hard work. And I do not take it lightly because I really don't want to do it too many times. I want to find the role that fits me and fits the company, go in there, knock their socks off, and get the job. But the only way that happens is if you prepare ahead of time. And again, if you're not quite sure of what this means, you put that bad boy inside ChatGPT and you're like, what's a great answer for this? And some people say, Dash, it's cheating. It's cheating. What are you doing? And I'm telling you, no, it's not cheating. Because I have friends that pay $100 an hour, up to thousands of dollars to have paid coaches to help them get jobs. I have friends that know they're going to make lots of money. So they spend lots of money in preparation to get ready for the job. And I say, you know what? Now that we have ChatGPT, let's level the playing field. Let's bring everybody up to the position where we can all be coached, right? And again, we're not going to lie. We're not going to say things that aren't true. We're going to be authentic. But you're in in my previous role and for me, it would be Director of Advanced Technology Center, I was responsible for designing, implementing training programs to support organizational objectives. I probably put what our organizational objectives were. One approach I found particularly effective was conducting comprehensive needs assessments to understand the specific learning requirements of different departments or teams within the company. For me, it would say, what did our industry partners want? I did a needs assessment to say what our industry partners were looking for when they wanted to hire people. And it's the truth. That's what I did. Now, would I have thought to give that answer right on the spot? Probably not. Would I even have thought, if this thing didn't tell me, Dash, a needs assessment, that's a methodology. Got to be honest with you guys. I don't know if I would have thought of that as a methodology. It's just something I did. I needed to know what the people hiring needed. So I asked them. We held meetings with the EDC and the Chambers of Commerce. We did that for Sarasota Manatee. I don't necessarily know if I would have known to prepare for that question, but there you go. And then it talks about another methodology with scenario-based learning, real-world examples to contextualize training content. Yes, we do that as well. So it's just a way, right? A way of helping you get your resume, get your cover letter, and prepare for your interview. But number one, of course, is networking. Most jobs are received because someone knows someone. And so I can't not tell you that LinkedIn.com is your friend. And if you don't have a LinkedIn account, you want to get one. And even ChatGPT tells us what to put in our little profile. So here, if you're looking at my page right now and you're like, well, how did she know to put Director of ATC and a TEDx speaker and global thought leader for emerging? Yeah, thank you, ChatGPT, for helping me quantify who I am and how to get that across to a broader audience. That came from ChatGPT. If I had to put something about my profile, like who is she and what does she do, it's probably, it came from the words came from ChatGPT. And don't forget, you can tell it, I only need 50 words, or I only need 10 characters, or I only need, 500, whatever. You can make it specify what you need and what you want. So in essence, you guys, that is my presentation about how to use AI for you in everyday life, the way it happens for most of us now, and how not to get left behind. DALL-E, of course, it's already integrated into ChatGPT, but it's just pictures, right? You can say, show me a picture of a laptop or something. You might need it for a PowerPoint. You might need it for your Canva marketing campaign. You just might need it for a website, a Facebook post, a social media post, and you're looking for an image. And rather than search through Adobe or anything like that for stock photos, you just tell the AI to create one for you. DALL-E is integrated into Bing. Remember I mentioned Bing already? So for free, no cost, DALL-E is integrated there, and it'll just give you images. And it may not be the right image that you're looking for. So you keep having that same conversation, right? Like, oh, I need 2 laptops. And you get it to give you some images to use however you need to use them. And I also get ChatGPT to help me with my PowerPoints. I get ChatGPT to help me with my speeches. I get ChatGPT to help me with a number of things. And it saves me so much time and so much effort. And as long as it's authentic to myself, if I'm not telling any lies or creating something that's not supposed to be, it works. And you guys got to remember, all of these are authentic, meaning it's not a stock photo. The software has created the images using the large language models of what laptops look like. That's my presentation. If you have any other questions or concerns or comments, or you guys want to engage with us, we're at State College of Florida, and we're happy to help not just you, but your organizations, your family members, your colleagues at work. However you want to reach out to us, we're happy to help. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the Women's Resource Center team.
Great, perfect. Thank you so much, Dej. There are actually a few questions that are populated. I did want to go ahead and share the results of that poll, just to some of the questions that you did ask earlier. That should be popping up on your screen right now.
Okay, nice. I see that. So most of our audience was comfortable using AI, but we had about a third that said no, they could use some assistance. So I hope that was helpful. 70% said, yep, once again, about the same ratios there. Did you know what AI was prior to today? So most people knew about AI. And have you considered using it for a resume? All right, so awesome. This is where we got more of the 50-50 split. I hope what I shared today about using it for your resume or your cover letter helps.
Perfect. So one of the questions that we have, is there a list of suggested technology tools to use for app access at SCF Coding Academy?
There's a list. It's called, there's an AI for that. Can I put that in the chat? Can we put that somewhere?
Yeah.
There's an AI for that is what it's called. And if I shared my screen and Googled it, so it's not necessarily at the Coding Academy per se, it's just online. There's an AI for that. Let me see if this is the site I'm looking for. Yes, this is the site I'm looking for. There's an AI for that.com. And if you tell it, I'm looking for an AI to help me with my resume. Oops. If I'm looking for an AI to help me with my house remodel, I'm having my carpets redone today, you guys. I scanned in, there was an AI for that. And literally I've just lost, oh, it's asking me which account I want to use. I always use that one. I always use the same account, just so it doesn't have to know too much about me. And you can see here, right? There's an AI for that. I asked about mentoring and landscape design and architect and intern. I asked about a lot. I wanted to know the square footage of my house. So I uploaded my floor plan into AI. And then I said, what's the square feet of this house based on rooms that have carpet? I told it this room, this room, this room. And it said, oh, you got blah, blah, blah square feet. And I said, well, the carpet is such and such amount per square foot. It did the calculation for me. It said, you should budget about this amount just for the carpet. What about the labor? And I was like, well, let's just budget $50 an hour for the labor. And it did it. So I had a nice little budget to play with. But it's called, there's an AI for that. And it has lots of different tools for whatever you're thinking about trying to do.
Great. So the next question is, how do you know if an employer has Copilot on their computer?
Oh, good one. Number one, you could ask. But typically when you go into Word or Excel, let me see if I can get into PowerPoint or something. Normally when you go into Word, if there's Copilot on the machine, you might have a little icon that looks like this. And I hope I'm still sharing. Okay, it looks like this. It says Copilot. And then this, okay, here's how you, for me, right here, where it says Deshwana Bagley, and it has my little picture of me and one of my sons. This is my personal Microsoft account. And I pay Microsoft $20 a month. Once again, I'm paying for something, but I pay to have Microsoft help me write my papers and do all my stuff. So if your company, when you open Word or Excel and it has Copilot right there, then your company has it and your data is safe. State College of Florida, I do not have Copilot. I don't have Copilot at State College of Florida, to my knowledge. Now, if I get it tomorrow, that's a different story, but to my knowledge right now, I don't have it. But this is how you would tell. And this is how you can say, ask me anything about this document. And typically, I don't know if it's showing up on my screen right now. Typically, even at the very beginning, it says, if you want to do something, this is my document. Yes. I'm talking about Power BI. But typically I could say, I want to write something about Power BI. Let's write a description about Power BI. And then it'll start giving me the information that I can use inside my paper. But we can do the same thing for free with ChatGPT. We don't necessarily have to do it. It only comes into play if I'm talking about personal business. If I'm talking about myself, my kids, my family, my job, I'm using my own version of Copilot to make sure that my data is safe.
Okay. The next question that we have is, are there many more generative types of AI apps? I'm not sure if I have one of the other than Google Assistants.
Okay, yes. So there are AI apps for almost anything and everything you can think of, because even before ChatGPT announced itself, I mean, you guys think about this, Grammarly. Grammarly is AI, right? It helps me with every sentence I ever write. Grammarly was already a thing before ChatGPT showed its head. There's one called, and this one might be just a little geeky, Wolf Alpha RAM is AI. Wolf Alpha RAM is one that students who take calculus and trigonometry and whatever else, they've been using Wolfram Alpha, I said it wrong, Wolfram Alpha for a number of years. If you're looking for a very particular AI, I would start with that there's an AI for that. If you're just looking for generative AI, I mentioned Google has Gemini, Amazon has Anthropic, Microsoft has Bing and ChatGPT, and I'm sure there are more. I'm sure, that company, we use HubSpot, but what's the other company that does all the customer service management? Skills, I can't remember right offhand, but there are other companies that are embedding AI into their services so that we can do things better and faster. I use HubSpot, but there's another big customer management software that does it. I'm trying to think of others. Let me give you guys what I tell people for AI. It's build, buy, or borrow. Build. You build your own large language model. Higher education, we have colleges now all coming together to give all of their student data, all of their student access, everything they know about their students. They're all coming together to build their own large language model for higher education. They're building it. It's going to be expensive. Number two is buy. You could go to Amazon, Microsoft, or even Google and say, hey, I would like to buy a version of your AI just for my company. I want to use it just for my company and I want it to be private. That's what Microsoft is doing with Copilot. And Google is doing the same thing with Gemini. I don't know if Anthropic is doing it with Amazon, but you can buy a large language model through a company, less expensive. Or you can borrow, which is what the vast amount of us are doing with ChatGPT. We're borrowing their large language model and using it for our own results. So build, buy, borrow.
Okay, Dave, it looks like somebody in the comments actually did know the name that you were looking for. It's called Salesforce.
Salesforce, yes, yes. Salesforce they've incorporated AI, generative AI into their software, and now they're selling it to people to say, hey, you can buy our version of customer service management, and it'll be so much like right now with HubSpot, I have to go through and I have to put in, I talked to this customer, and then I emailed this customer, and then I heard back from this customer. Salesforce now is just saying, tell us what you want to do with the customer. I want to follow up in 2 days. I want to da-da-da. I want to make sure they da-da-da. And Salesforce says, done. You don't have to send an email. You don't have to make another phone call. We've done it for you. It's AI. It's generative. Yes.
So the other question they have, is Adobe considered generative AI or cloud?
There are versions of Adobe that are so generative, and they've been generative for a while now, but it's gotten much easier for those of us that aren't Adobe aficionados, right? I just want to change my background. So I type in, change my background, done. Same thing for Canva. I don't know if you guys have noticed, it's called Magic. Canva, I want to have birds and trees and behind me, bing, birds and trees. That idea of being able to type the words, you type the words and then they show up. The images show up that is just phenomenal. So yes, Adobe is generative, as is Canva, which I like Canva because it's free, right?
Okay, so are the images from DALL-E licensed or are they free to use?
They are free to use. As of now, they are free to use. The images, however, are taken from other people's images, right? So if you want something in the form of DALL-E, no, I shouldn't use that one. Picasso, if you want something in the version of Picasso and you say, give me this picture, but in the Picasso version, it creates it for you and it's completely free. Picasso's dead, he don't care. But nevertheless, if you built something and it was your work they were stealing from, you would be like, you can't use my style. That's my style. How do you guys get to put my style into your large language model? It's not fair. So now folks are going to court. Musicians, artists, everybody's going to court. I will say this real fast. Somebody wrote a paper and I thought it was really good. And it said, please, AI, please stop taking the things that people like to do. We like art. We like music. We like writing. Stop taking that. If you want to do something for us, and of course, software development is another aspect, right? There's GitHub, and then there's GitHub with Copilot. There's all sorts of things to write software for you. They're like, people with the big brains, start thinking of things that we really don't like to do. I don't like changing my own oil. Can I have some devices that change my oil? I don't like doing my dishes. I don't like doing my laundry. I don't like there are so many things I don't like to do. Can we start thinking about things that will allow us to get rid of the work we hate and let us keep the things that we're passionate about? So that's one line of thought.
So to continue that line of thought, one of the questions says, how do you safeguard your information when uploading your resume to have AI summarize it for you?
Right. Take out your name, the top header that says your name, your address, your phone number. Create another document that just doesn't have all that private information, and then let it summarize it for you.
Another question we have is, after talking about job search, they really want to know, on the opposite foot, how are employers using AI when hiring someone?
They've already purchased software that takes in all of that information and they map it to an ideal candidate. Because companies now, maybe not the smaller companies, but the bigger companies, for years, decades, they have the ideal candidate that they're looking for. They kind of know what works well in their culture. And they're looking at the words on the resume, the words in the cover letter, the tone of the cover letter, the tone of the resume, and they're matching it to what they think will work well with their company. They've been doing AI for decades. So that's why we say networking is so important, because how do you know the culture of the company unless you talk to somebody that's at the company, right? How do you know the type of person they're looking for in that role, whether it's a person who's highly motivated or if it's a person who just follows the orders? I just need you to do what I tell you to do. I don't need you to be highly motivated. I don't need you to take, I just need you to do what I tell you to do, right? So you got to know. And it was really interesting though, because I was listening to one podcast and the company HR senior level, she said that because they know they can't get back to every candidate, they can't email every candidate that applies. What they do is have the candidates go through that assessment, and then they tell the candidates, based on our assessment, here's the type of person we see you as being, here are your skill sets, here's what we think motivates you, and here are the job roles we think you might be better fit for. So apply for those jobs within our company, because you might be a really good fit for those jobs. For this job, you're not. But they did that all with AI.
So the next question that we have is, what happens if you prefer to use duckduck.com? Will this make a difference in the ability of using ChatGPT?
I have not seen any AI built into duckduck.com. And I think that's the one that's it doesn't save your information. It doesn't show you ads. It doesn't give out information. And because it is so locked down, I don't think it's giving us any generative options.
Can you tell us more about how you use AI to create your PowerPoints?
That webpage is called tome.com. Tome. Oh, and I'm still sharing. Cool. Sorry, y'all. I didn't even realize I was sharing. It's the TOME app.ai. Let's see. TOME.app. That's what it's called. TOME.app. And typically, like I told y'all, I use that same email that I use all the time, stemtrainer@gmail.com. I use that to make all of my accounts. And TOME.com starts you off with some templates, but then they say, well, what are you really looking for, Dash? And you guys, I'm looking for it right now because my screen is kind of hidden. Let me see if I can find it. So I say start from blank, typically. And it says, well, what are you trying to do? And I say, I want to create a PowerPoint about using AI for job search. And you're like, Dash, you're just cheating. But I also listen to podcasts, I read books, I read articles. But you guys, I got to just tell you, sometimes it's nice to just have an outline, just a little outline to get me started. It saves so much time. So then it says, oh, okay, got it. Here's your presentation, Dash. Start with this and then modify it to fit your needs. And so that's what I do. I put in what I want to talk about, and then it creates a very generic outline for me. Typically, it's very wordy, and I can't ever use hardly anything that's on these PowerPoints because they're so wordy, right? But at least it'll generate a layout. It'll show me a picture. So let's go to number 1, introduction to AI in job search. Well, number 1, I'm not going to use that picture because everybody's afraid of robots taking jobs. So this wouldn't get me off on the right foot. But the words, AI is revolutionizing the job search process, making it more efficient and effective for job seekers. Yeah, I like those words. And I didn't even have to think of them. And then what's the impact on job seekers? I love that. And then all I have to do in here is just go in and change that picture. I don't necessarily have to use that picture. I can use something else. And so benefits of AI in the job search, AI-driven job matching, AI-powered interview preparation. You guys like, Dash, you just told us all of this stuff. You didn't think about it. But I will tell you, it takes me little to no time to get my PowerPoint done. And then I add in my own personal stories, right? I tailor it to fit the audience. I do what I need to do to make sure it's unique to me. But yeah, y'all, I'm just saving all sorts of time. And this site, tome.app, it gives you a few credits a month to use. So I'm using the free version. And on the free version, I get to make like 10 PowerPoints a month, something like that. So there's ChatGPT for higher education. There's navigating the future job search. There's Project Hugo. I had to do that a few months ago for somebody. So that's how I use it, tome.app. There may be others. I think one of them is called a beautiful presentation, or a beautiful something it's called, but I use the TOME.
Okay. The next question we have is, do you have any tips for using AI with Excel?
Yes. So the good news is that if the data is generic data and you're not sharing anybody's name or anything, you can always upload. I'm giving an example. You know how you use your Microsoft Forms, and in Microsoft Forms, you then have to go and download the Excel spreadsheet. And then after everybody's filled out all of their information. And now you're downloading the spreadsheet to look at all of their information. I take out anything that's personally identifiable, if there is anything, and then I upload my spreadsheet into ChatGPT. And after I upload my spreadsheet, I ask it very specific questions about the spreadsheet. So that's one way, just evaluating and analyzing the data. The other way is if I can't remember a formula, like delete duplicates in Excel, how to, then I can ask it. I can say, listen, I know I need to delete these duplicates. How do I do that? And then it gives me the step-by-step instructions, which is so nice. Because when I Google search it, I get a million results and I don't know which one fits my needs. But if I just put it into ChatGPT, I like it so much better. What's the other one? How can I link two spreadsheets to find common data? I do that a lot too. Like I need to find some common data among these spreadsheets. Like, how do I do that? And then it just sort of gives me my information. And I'm just like, whew, thank you so much, because I did not want to have to look that up myself. And the wonderful thing, again, like ChatGPT, now when I have to do that again, when I have to go back and look at it once more, then at least my information is there. It's not going anywhere. It's saved for me. Good question.
Now, you did touch bases on this earlier, but it is a question that did pop up again. Can you expand on what's the difference between the basic ChatGPT and the 4.0?
So for $20 a month, at the very beginning, so I don't know if you guys remember when ChatGPT first came out, you would try to get onto it and it would say the server is busy right now. We can't help you, right? So many of us started paying at the very beginning just so we wouldn't get that server is busy error. Then after we started paying, ChatGPT came out with these things called GPT apps. So Explore GPTs. And with the Explore GPTs, what's not available in the free one that is available in the paid one is now you get so many more apps to do what you need it to do without necessarily having to prompt GPT in a very specific way. And so now that these apps are available for us, we're able to use them easier, better. And so I mean, that's what I use it for, especially for grant writing, especially for data analysis, especially when I have these large PDF files that are pages long, and I can just give them to ChatGPT and say, please summarize this for me. Some of the free versions, there are limits on how big the file can be, limits on how many words, that sort of thing. But for this one, the whole tutor me thing. So instead of having to, and I should probably look at this to see if it costs money. Yeah. So Khan Academy does offer this, but it's $30 a month to get tutored by the generative AI in Khan Academy. Not a bad price. I pay far more for my other kids for tutoring for them for SAT. But now this whole little light part of it, Khanmigo Lite, it's embedded in here for free. So that whole idea of give me 10 practice problems or whatever, it should say what subject do you want the practice problems in, math, science, and then I'll say calculus because that's what my daughter is in now, AP, BC, calc or whatever. And so it's like, great choice. Let's start with some practice problems. Here's your first problem. And so some people might say, well, it's just going to give them the answers. I hear that from educators a lot. It's just going to give them the answers. And I say, kids have always been getting the answers. Where have you been? They get answers all the time. At least now with the ChatGPT, it can tutor them in a way that might help them. Like, I'm not sure what's my first step. And so that's one of the reasons why I kind of like just paying $20 a month to OpenAI, because I get so many other AIs, generative AIs embedded in this one without having to go to Khan Academy, Interior, without having to do the whole, there's an AI for that. So much of it is embedded in the paid version. So, and same thing for Google with Gemini, same thing for Anthropic. There's a certain level where it's free and you have so many resources, but when you start paying, you get the next level of resources. Again, there's going to be a disparity, you guys. There's going to be a disparity in the haves and the have-nots. There are going to be some people that, like me, that I typically pay $100 a month just for the AI tools. I pay Microsoft for Copilot. I pay ChatGPT, and I pay a few others. And there's some disparities because people don't have $100 a month to just, to pay toward these things. But at least if we can show people to use the free versions, then we're halfway there. This is what I think is going to happen. Remember back in the day where we had to buy the Microsoft Word separate from the Microsoft Excel, separate from the Microsoft PowerPoint. And then all of a sudden, Microsoft put it into one big package. And you bought the package and they sent you all the CDs. I don't know if you guys remember this stuff or not, but you got all these CDs and you had to start installing them. And then all of a sudden they said, never mind, we're just going to put it in the cloud. It's going to be a web-based application. You're going to run it from the cloud, stop installing CDs. I can't even find a computer that has a CD player anymore. There's no such thing as a CD player anymore, right? So we're evolving. I have a feeling that over time, and not too far from now, all the AIs are just going to be embedded. I won't have to buy Salesforce, the AI version. It's just going to be Salesforce, right? I'm not going to have to buy Microsoft Copilot. It's just going to be there. It's going to become common. And at that point, when it becomes common like that, that's when we really got to start thinking about how do we train people to use it effectively so that they can be more productive in their jobs instead of just the machine taking their jobs. If we can teach people to use the stuff effectively and efficiently, then we won't have job loss. We'll just have industry gains. And I mean, we're going to still have some job loss, but at least we'll have industry gains as more people get skilled.
All right, so the next question that we have, is there any AI courses that you can take without learning code? This person's particular background is graphic design, and they're looking for courses that are offered at SCF.
AI courses at SCF, we do without learning code. We got some one-day classes, 7.5 hours. Come in and let us teach you how to use ChatGPT or use Canva with ChatGPT or use Adobe with AI. We do. But if you're just trying to learn on your own, I would start with codecademy.com. Codecademy.com has some ways of learning AI with some free courses. Now, if you're going to pay somebody, you should just pay us, right? I don't mind that. But if you're going to start off free, I would start off free with Codecademy or Coursera, or I'm sure there's some others that aren't coming to mind just yet. Any of those places, I think even Google. Google has some AI courses that might be free. So as long as they're not trying to get you to pay extra money, because there are so many things out there that are free. If you're like me though, and you're like, I have a specific problem, I need to have a specific answer, I need somebody to teach me how to do this with AI without code, then that would be the Coding Academy for something very specific. If you're looking for something very generic, Udacity, that's what I was thinking of. If you're looking for something very generic, there's Udacity, AI Fundamentals, it's free. You just got to Google it. Lots of good free resources there without having to necessarily learn how to code.
All right, so the next question we have is, they state that they've been using ChatGPT since day one. Are they not secure?
Oh, it's not secure. And you know how we know is because other people's names are showing up in ChatGPT stories. Write me a poem about that. Deshwana was blah, 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 blah. I'm like, Deshwana, there's only 2 people in the world named Deshwana. It's me and another little girl who lives around the corner from me. So somebody stole my name. I mean, where I grew up. When other people's names start showing up in ChatGPT answers, you know that it's not, the word isn't safe. The word is secure. Your data is not secure.
Okay. Which AI app would you recommend to create a profile picture for LinkedIn?
Adobe would be a good software to use if you needed to change your existing photo. So a photo, like a banner, maybe a banner we're talking about, because a profile picture for LinkedIn, historically for me, it's been me. I use my own face. I want people to connect me with me. But this banner that's right here, and I'm trying to figure out how to get to it, how to view my own profile. The banner in the background, this is a great place to have AI create a banner for you. And you can even tell it, I'm creating a banner for LinkedIn. I want it to have the beach. I want it to have the Grand Canyon. I want it to have whatever you want in your banner background. That's what you would use. For me, for my profile picture, I highly recommend people using themselves. And if you need to touch up your photo just a little bit, then that's what Adobe is for.
So the next question we have is, are colleges using AI, as well as what's a good site that you recommend for research papers? And
Colleges are deciding what to do about AI just yet. The libraries, I have been advocating for the libraries to lead the charge. Libraries, librarians have always been the best ones to know research, integrity, authentication. So at State College of Florida, our librarians have taken the lead on helping not just the students, but also the professors with knowing how to give a better assignment. Because the assignments that not necessarily our instructors, but some instructors have been giving over the past few decades, ChatGPT is going to eat that up. So we got to have more competency-based instruction. And are colleges using AI? You have to talk to your college. Because even now, it's professor to professor. Some professors say it's fine, use it. And they know how to give assignments that make sure that it's being used correctly. Other instructors are just like, no, not in my class, not today. So it's an instructor approach. How do I use it for research? I start off by going to Google Scholar. And I ask Google Scholar, what book helps me with this subject? And Google Scholar, as you know, is free, right? We don't necessarily have anything having to do with AI or anything per se in Google Scholar. I'm looking for Earth Day. That happened just recently, right? So then it gives me these books. If these books are digital, if I can find some digital information from here, I then get wording from the books that help prove my case or that help me with whatever I need. And I put that into ChatGPT, right? I'm trying to find real content that helps me write my paper or prove my point or whatever. And then I allow ChatGPT to help me. Here are the resources that I have. Here's the words. Here's the verbiage. How do I connect these points together? What's my outline for my paper? And I still got to do the research. I still really got to write it myself. But I got to tell you, ChatGPT or whatever AI you decide to use, it really does help put some things in perspective and sometimes make some connections you wouldn't have made yourself. But you got to understand the connections that are being made, because then you got to explain that to somebody else, right? So, but I typically start off with Google Scholar or some PDFs or a podcast or a YouTube video, anything that gives me real credible data. And then I feed all of that data into my AI in order to get a better result than me myself could have thought of on my own.
Okay. And then the last question that we have is, they're wanting to know the name of that 7.5-hour course offered at SCF on AI.
I think it's called ChatGPT Fundamentals. It's $2.99. It's 7.5 hours. So you come for one day. And if you're interested in that, you can reach out to coding@scf.edu, coding@scf.edu, and you'll end up talking to our business development coordinator. His name is Neil. He's a great guy, and he'll get you set up. I am the instructor for that class, but Neil manages everybody setting up, signing up, and all that stuff.
All right, perfect. So that's all the questions and time that we have for today. So I want to thank everybody for joining. As a reminder, if you will just spare an additional minute, there will be a survey that pops up on your screen. We'd love to have some feedback from you. And again, thank you for joining us. And Desh, thank you for presenting on artificial intelligence and you.
My
Have a wonderful
pleasure.
day.
Thank you.